Alright, welcome to Revelation Happens. May 10th, actually it's Mother's Day, May 10th, 2020. And if you want to join us on this meeting or as a teacher on the Tuesday and Thursday meetings, which actually the last one turned out pretty good, join us by sending me an email at david@angloisrael.com, and that will get you in the meeting if I approve. Same thing, we're just posting these on my, let's see what, think about what I want to look at here. I'm posting these over here on my Rev9 video site, which I'll have to pull up actually. Wasn't quite ready for that one. Alright, so it'll be angloisrael.com. If you come here and click this first link, it will take you to Rev9 video on YouTube, which is where everyone's being posted. This last one on 5/7 turned out to be a pretty good meeting. It was about an hour and a half long. So now we're doing longer meetings. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more people. Danny, as you can see, was here before. He'll be back on probably next week. And then Pastor Everett Ramsey's, which is just godscovenantpeople.com. You can go to his channel, check out his. We're posting most of his God's Covenant People church meetings here on Sunday, and sometimes we also do extra ones. And then on Pastor Eli James, he was on our last meeting as well, and here's his channel. It's Pastor Eli James, and as you can see, he's got he's also doing Zoom meetings himself. So I'll try to post the most relevant things there. At any rate, let's get back to our charts. So help me find those. And sorry, we were kind of focused on the beast. Actually, on theirs, we were focusing on. Well, we were really talking a lot about the two witnesses because there was a lot of debate about the two witnesses being empires. And I said, well, I'll pull that up from Daniel chapter 7 about the beast being empires. And then Lily had some questions. She's here with us today. She had some questions about, you know, whether the the Pope or the Catholic Church or whatever could be considered a beast. And I said, well, not by definitions. It would be part of a beast. And where we left off at actually was this Revelation 9:20, where I said those were the definition of the 4 parts of the beast. So I was just looking through my charts here trying to find that particular one we were on. Yeah, here it is. So it's on my judgment begins, the hour of judgment, because that's kind of what it said. In fact, we were there in Revelation chapter 17, where me and Eli were talking about the end of chapter 17, where it said actually on the 10 horns, which are 10 kings, which side with this dragon, which is the Satan defined in chapter 12, that they side and go with Satan, then the beast, and also the leader of the beast. That's what it says in 13:2. He's the one that's controlling the beast. So Satan's the controller. They side with Satan to join this beast, which is this empire. So it's really a nation of 10 nations. In other words, 10 empires. So they're obviously, if they're going to be called, if they're going to be going against the Lamb, that's what it says. If they're going to war against the Lamb and his children, so they're going to get to war against Christ, and they assume they're going to win this war. Obviously, they wouldn't join up with Satan. So Satan's convinced them that he's got something that if they'll just side with him, they'll be able to win this war against these God's covenant people. I mean, that's what it boils down to, because it already defined them, actually multiple times, but it only defines them as, yeah, I see that, Lily. All right, so it only defines them as the people who follow God's law and teach the message of Christ. So that's 12:17 That's also in 14:12, where it talks about the conquerors, who are also the 144,000 from chapter 7. Now we're in Revelation. So chapter 7 of Revelation gives you the 144,000 of each of the 12 tribes. So that's also about the Israel people, and that defines the Israel people as people who follow God's law, teach the message of Christ. And then I was saying that these two witnesses then were two empires, end-time empires of people who originally were founded. In other words, the nations or the empires were originally founded on this idea of witnessing for Christ, which is God's covenant people again. And that's how I defined them. Now, oops, I'm using two computers here. Let me go look over here. And so in the chat, Lily's asked me, it was about the two witnesses and the second beast. So what I was saying about the second beast was that, first of all, they're conquered there in 13:1. That's we kind of touched on that. But at 13:1, you have the lion, and the lion is the Lion of Judah and his two kingdoms, who were conquered there in 11:7. I said when you got to chapter 11, started reading that, at first part of it, you're reading it, and it says they're conquering their enemies. And I said, well, okay, how do you, if they have power with God, then how do you conquer an empire of Christian people who have power with God? And what I came up with is, well, it's easy enough to conquer them, because if you look at it right now, they're being controlled by the money powers. So in America, we gave all of our power. We took Congress, in other words, in 1913, gave away all of our power to create our own money to a private bank. And we know it as the Rothschild Empire or whatever, but the point is it's not even in America. You know, the bank is an international bank, and it's actually controlling pretty much all nations right now, except maybe Iran and a couple others. So it's in control of most all of the world at the moment. It has this banking of international settlements, and you have the what they call the other thing where everybody sends their payments through worldwide. The SWIFT. The SWIFT is how countries make their payments from country to country, pay for oil or minerals or whatever they're exchanging. So they're in control of all that at the moment. And I said, okay, so we don't have our own money. We're using their money, and then we're also paying them interest. So every time you use their money, you're paying them interest, because we're not using the constitutional money defined in the Constitution. We gave all that up to this private bank. So they took control of our country for sure in 1913. Obviously, they had control before then, or they wouldn't be able to buy off all the senators and congressmen and get everybody to basically shut up about the banking. The fact that our banks are foreign owned by people that don't even live here. So the whole country's been run. It's run by money. Money comes in, money goes out, you make payments, and where does all that come from? It comes from this banking empire, which is a foreign banking empire. So when we spend money and go out and, you know, like right now we just spent a couple $1 trillion. Well, that couple $1 trillion didn't come from the American people, because the American people didn't take $2 trillion out of their own pocket to put in for this, you know, disaster that's going, this current crisis, and now they're buying off companies so that they can continue. So let's get back to the two witnesses and the second beast. So when you get to, she was saying 13:11, yes, the dragon is taking control of all of these empires, and it starts right there in 13:1. I was just saying that the lion is actually these two beasts from chapter 11. So these two lamb kingdoms, which it defines here in 13, right here at 13:11, 13:12, it defines two lamb kingdoms. So that here's another evidence that what they took control of back here in 11:7 was these two witnesses. Over here they're called lamb kingdoms. Well, we also covered the other things, that they're Israelite. It starts really from chapter 1, 6, and 7. They're the royal priesthood, and they're kindred people of nations, languages, tongues. That's repeated, which are kindred people, which are these kindred 12 tribes mentioned in chapter 7 and then reiterated in 14, but it's also mentioned in more places. I need to make a chart for Revelation. I've already got the bits and pieces on the existing charts I have, so really if you just download these charts, and I'm wondering if that chat actually shows up in the recording. Let me just close that. In fact, I'm not sure what else shows up in the finished recording. Here, let's just do it this way. I was saying that, the whole of Revelation, the context, and I've got all this laid out on charts. I've got everything defined, everything laid out for you. If you just look through all this stuff, of course, watch my videos. It's just, here, let me look. No, you're not muted, Lily. I don't hear you. There you go. Oh, okay, go ahead. No, go ahead. Right. Okay. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yes. Right. No, it's indicative of the two empires from chapter 11 who are called these two witnesses. They're empires, and they're conquering empires until they are conquered in 11:7. The reason they're conquered is because they're Christian empires, empires that teach the message of Christ and follow God's law. At least their laws are based on God's law. And then they let this, like I was just explaining, they let this banking system, which is Mystery Babylon, over in chapter 17. That's what we defined that as Mystery Babylon last recording we did. At any rate, so they're letting this banking system control their nation. They're letting these four things, which I had on this chart here. Oops. How do I go back to the, sorry. I was trying to full screen this, and sorry. Oh, there you go. All right, so these empires have these four things mentioned in actually I think that's 9:21. Judgment on people who commit murder, sorcery, fornication, theft, and if you read it, they're also following these demons. So I said, well, that's what our country has devolved to from our original foundings where we had unalienable rights. Well, that's gone out the window as soon as this banking empire took control in 1913. No one's had unalienable rights. That's what the whole Civil War was about. It wasn't about giving other people rights, because governments cannot give anyone rights. Rights are given to us by God, and most people will tell you that. They just don't understand how that comes about and how that works through law. Let's not get into that. That's another few hours of study there. But the point is, the murder is the international military industrial coalition in our country, but it's really an international coalition, like NATO, for example. You can think of it that way. If you're over in the UK, you would say NATO is probably who you would refer to. Now, the sorcery is, as it was defined, actually it's right here. Sorry. It's right here. 3 types of fornication: sexual, spiritual, and then there's sorcery for gain. I've got the verses there. So I've been through that in great detail. And then all right, so, sorry. That was fornication. All right, the sorcery is pharmakia, and it's defined down here. Oh, there's your murder, and there's your sorcery. That's the top of it. It's pharmakia. It's 5331, 332, and 333. But pharmakia is, if you look it up, is the base word for pharmacy or pharmaceutical. And it tells you it's a drug, a spell-giving potion, a druggist or pharmacist or poisoner, by extension, a magician, you see, medication, pharmacy, and just look it up. I mean, I've got a whole chart on that. So, go ahead. All right. Well, that's what they are. That's what you're reading in 13:12. Go. Right. I said 12. It's the Lamb Kingdoms we're talking about, and the dragon has control, and the dragon took control in 13:1. Go ahead. Right. No, I think they're wrong. You're talking about the first seal, the white horse. People taught it that way, but I don't teach it that way. In fact, here's my chart out right here. Let's just pull this up. The first seal goes out to conquer and to conquering and to conquer. That's exactly what you read in Revelation chapter 11 about the two witnesses. They're consuming their enemies. It tells you they can stop the rain or make it rain, and all these things, which I defined the last time we were on, that our nation can do all those things. We have the technology for that. And that is the first seal. That's where it starts, right there. We're out using our military-industrial complex to conquer the world, because that's what the CIA does. That's what we're doing down at Venezuela right now. We're taking over Venezuela and trying to put in our little CIA puppet down there. And they just tried to kill, who was it? Maduro, I think is the name of the president down there. And we just tried to kill him, or somebody did. You see? And that's what we've been doing. For the last 100 years, we've been taking over other nations by sending the CIA in and getting them to fight each other, which is exactly what the Civil War was about. That's what we didn't call it the CIA, but it was the same group of people. Go ahead. Okay. Well, here again, what I told you is the two witnesses have allowed this fake. In other words, our government is not the government that we created, that our fathers created. We have this fake government that puts out fake news on entertainment TV day by day by day, which people look at, and all it is brainwashing. The real news is people, well, most people would look at Alex Jones or Jeff Rance or Drudge or whoever, but they're real news because they put out truth as much as they can. Let's put it this way. Anybody that puts out truth in their whole idea of their channel, for example, what they do is to tell the truth, like Project Veritas, for example. Anybody, that's real news. And what you watch on TV is the fake news. So the white horse is in control of the these fake people who are probably aliens because they have no regard for human life, whatever. I mean, they're out taking over other nations, killing, murdering, no telling how many people are being murdered when the CIA goes out and stirs up all this war and it takes over these countries and installs our little puppets. I mean, innocent people. So when you're out killing, and that's what the two witnesses are doing. We started out worshiping God. That's how we got the laws that we put into effect way back in 1700s. But after that, well, even before 1600s, all of our 13 colonies were following God's law. The basis of their law came from Scripture. The basis of their laws, and you can prove that beyond a doubt. Go ahead. We lost you. We lost you, Lily. We can't hear you. You'll have to start over on that one. Still can't hear you. Says your bandwidth is low, so you'll have to start that whole question over again. Still can't hear you. Now we can hear you. I heard something. Oh, I think she logged out, tried to log back in, which is probably a smart thing. And that's a good thing to know if you're here in Zoom, and I've had people that come on, couldn't get their mic working or something like that. You have I don't know what it looks like if you're on a cell phone, because we get a lot of people that are on smartphones, but you should have a microphone, little mute thing in the bottom left, or a microphone, and then next to that your video. So if you don't want to have your video on, that's okay on the as long as you already contacted me first and sent me an email, and we've talked a little bit. But your microphone, if we have multiple people, that can build up a little, well, it can cause a problem. If you have multiple people, having your microphone, everybody having their microphone on can cause a problem, especially if they got background noise. So generally I have to mute everyone's microphone except who's speaking. So what I do is I allow them to unmute themselves. So if they want to interject, they turn the mic on, make your comment, or we talk some, and then you turn your mic back off. And if you don't, you have dogs barking, you have background noise, and it really messes up the recording if someone's microphone is on. So if you have a problem with your microphone and you can't get your microphone to work, then sometimes logging out, logging back in. Now I've heard that on smartphones, and I don't know if she's on a smartphone or not, but on smartphones you have various, when you start Zoom, you have to install an app or a software for your particular smartphone. I don't know what that looks like in Zoom, but at any rate, you have to get the right one installed, and that's the big issue. So if you don't have the right, if you don't have the correct software, maybe it doesn't work right on your phone or something. I'm not really sure. But at any rate, so she's probably trying to log back in. So what I put on here was the whole point of what we were just trying to talk about the first seal. Is I said in my chart here, these seals are what they're showing, the horses. So your horses are what's going on. In other words, the preview is the seals. First seal, second seal, third seal, and I've got them all here. Second seal is a red horse, which I said was your Satan worship evolves to communism and murder of saints, because that's what judgment's for on my judgment chart. It's the murder of saints through war that makes money for the military-industrial complex. So That's, to me, ties in with Revelation 8:6 here, which is, sorry, wrong one. I put on here, defines the seven churches and those servants or conquerors who are worthy to partake in the tree of life. That's how Revelation begins, 1 through 8:6. And then when you get to 8:7, you have the first trumpet. Okay. Now, these people, the servants, the conquerors, who are worthy to partake in the tree of life, are the two witnesses who preach or prophesy against many nations for a period of 42 months, 1260 days, that wage war with their enemies and prevail until they have a financial collapse and conquered by the first beast. Yes, well, I said it on the last one, the way you conquer these two empires is they came in, set up the international banking coalition under the Rothschild banking system, which is Mystery Babylon. The reason it's a mystery is because it's a mystery to most people how you do international banking or the whole banking at all. You know, how it works, especially from country to country, but even from within, how it all works is a mystery, especially the international banking and how they're controlling all of these empires through banking, because you have to have money to pay your bills, and that's what it's all about. So, well, she hasn't made it back, so she may be trying to switch to a different computer or something like that. At any rate, let's continue on. So I said, well, when they're out, they've got all their ships out in the ocean and their planes and everything, their whole military. I was saying, well, you know, it kind of reads like the horses are actually the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine in a sense. They're out there all around the world doing, participating in this final World War III, in other words. And you just pull their credit card when they can't buy bullets and the things they need to resupply, and they can't pay their bills, and people are not willing to just give them all those things so they can continue with the war. Well, the whole war just comes to an end, and they're conquered. So that's how it just went in chapter 11. They're waging war on all these other people, you know, because they're beasts. They're waging war on other beasts, which is where you get these beasts at the beginning of chapter 13. You got the lion, the bear, and the leopard. Okay, here she's back. All right, so she'll be logging in. So you got the lion, and I said, okay, and then I said the lion was the two witnesses. So there you go. You got two witnesses plus the leopard and the bear. Actually, you got four, which is exactly what Daniel chapter 7 defines, is the fourth beast, in other words. So I said on the fourth beast in Daniel chapter 7, first you had the first beast, which was, you see, these two witnesses, and then that devolved into the fourth by the first beast taking control of the second, then becoming the second beast taking control of the next one. They became the third, and then the next one they became the fourth, and that's how you got four beasts over here at the first verse of 13. So it really starts out with the fourth beast. So then when it said a beast in chapter 13, well, this a beast is Satan, as it defines in 13:2. Satan's in control, so he's just in control of the current beast, which is actually the fifth beast. But then when she was saying, well, then it goes to the second beast. Okay, that would actually be the sixth if you were keeping count. But because you can't explain that in Revelation, so it just, you know, it wouldn't make sense if you started out saying the sixth, and everybody would say, oh, okay, well, where's the first through the fifth? And, you know, it would be confusing. So it just starts out a beast in 13:1, and then in 13:11 it goes to defining that those two beasts, or those two kings, or whatever, which kings, kingdoms, beasts, you see, are all related. It just said, well, Satan's in control, but Satan was already in control, and that's the whole point. All right, well, it looks like you made it back here. So I was doing a little, that whole last thing you started talking about, I didn't get that whole last thing you started talking about. which you were still in the trying to explain how this looked like the church. In other words, the Roman church was in control of some military, I think, or whatever, and you got cut off at any rate. Okay. Uh, Well, you're right. And I said that before. People are watching TV and thinking that when they see the news, that's actual news. There's something truthful about it. But in fact, those are not news channels they're watching. So there was a big lawsuit. We went over this in our last one down in Florida about that, how the Florida Supreme Court said, no, they don't have to say anything truthful because they're registered with the FCC as an entertainment channel. And the judge, I love what the judge said, and I fully agree with him. Yes, they can lie because he said that, well, why would anybody watch this 23 hours a day, watch all these channels like Star Trek or Saturday Night Live or this or that, and think any of this is truthful? And then when this 1 hour a day, when they switch over to news, think that they go from all of this entertainment, which people know is entertainment, and there's nothing necessarily true about anything they watch for 23 hours. In that 1 hour, he says, why would anybody think that they switch over? Now everything they say is 100% truthful. He says they're an entertainment channel. You have to consider it the same thing as Saturday Night Live news. He said they can even change the words of the president, and it doesn't matter because there's no expectation of them saying anything truthful. It's entertainment. They're registered like that. They have a disclaimer on their website. He says there's no reason for anybody to believe that. So my big thing is, okay, well, why would the president or anyone else then go on any of these channels? Why don't they just offer to be covered by the actual news channels? Because that's what the judge said. He said if you went on a news channel and was watching a news channel and they lied, then you might have some grounds to bring a lawsuit. But he said you'd necessarily win there either, but at least you would have an argument. He says you don't have an argument that they have to tell the truth when it's an entertainment channel. There is no argument. So he dismissed the case. Well, I got them right here. Let's just have a look at them. Well, they don't really. They can't teach anything correctly if they're where they begin at the very beginning. They're wrong. The whole Bible is about the Abrahamic covenant. It doesn't change in the New Testament. In fact, the New Testament is just a confirmation of the Abrahamic covenant because Abraham was promised Christ back in Genesis 15:1. That's what that was. That was Christ the shield, and you don't have a church in America that teaches Christ the shield. In fact, I had to get with Pastor Ramsey on that. He got a doctorate, and he went to the normal schools where you're indoctrinated in theology and got his doctorate, but he didn't really learn the truth of the Bible until many years later. Started really doing a lot of his own study and realized that a lot of they just teach things a certain way, and that's what they want you to teach. And they basically tell you how to run a church, but they're not actually teaching you the Bible, the Abrahamic covenant, and all that, because the people that are in there, most of those teachers are actually Zionists, and they don't tell you any of that kind of thing. And in fact, most of the money for a lot of the seminaries probably come from Zionists. So, You know, the whole thing, our country's a lot farther down the hill, rolled a lot farther down the hill than what people think. You know, people are still talking about, oh, this might be communist. They don't realize they've actually been living in a communist country since 1913. And they should know the confirmation of that, because it was the Bolsheviks that went over and took over Russia and turned it into communism. Where did the Bolsheviks come from? They came from New York City. They were, you know, it was all Wall Street that funded them. Jacob Schiff, and one of the Rothschilds bankers that funded that communism right out of New York City. And they, you know, none of your pastors have ever told them that, so they don't know. Go ahead. Well, who knows? Don't know. Yeah. Well, they're not a church. They're simply not a church. Because once you become a corporation as a church, you're controlled by whatever laws the state of whatever state you're in. And you know, Pastor Ramsey was one of the main people that, and Pastor Greg Dixon, they went up there, seized his $6 million property, his church and all that, shut it down, plowed it under, because he was a corporation. And he was talking about things related to getting godly people. You know, the same thing happened in Houston, Texas. Same thing happened down in Florida with various pastors who started teaching about we should get involved in putting godly people in office, which is what the Bible says in Exodus chapter 18. First thing they were basically led to do when they came to Mount Sinai was to put the most godly people they could find within their group into control of hundreds, tens, hundreds, and thousands. It's kind of the way it lays it out. And then that was confirmed with Joshua. But the point is, when pastors start teaching the Bible, well, you know, you can't teach about that. But what they're supposed to be doing is put statesmen, and where would those statesmen come from? See, they're electing politicians, so they're right. We don't talk about politics in church, but we do talk about the Bible and the fact that we need to put godly men in office over us. You can't go and elect the mafia and expect your, you know, your government to run right. But that's what you've been doing for over 100 years. Go ahead. Yeah. So I've got all that information on my website. People just roll down and look at it. AngloIsrael.com. I've got the Barbara Martin case, which is the only case we can point to where someone's gone to the United States Supreme Court and actually they agreed with her that yes, you do have unalienable rights, and she's the only person that has been able to actually prove that in federal court and in the Supreme Court where they actually agreed. That's the only case we have since Dred Scott. Go ahead. Well, at any rate, so I went over here, you were talking about these seals. So I actually have the seals here. The second seal was the red horse, which I said was really this Satan worship, which evolves to communism. And I said, well, we're already in control of communists. They took over Russia, but they were in control of us before then. Murder the saints through war that makes money for the military-industrial complex. Well, the war does. The murder of the saints is what judgment is about over and over and over, which we could switch back to that chart, but I think we've already been there. And then I injected the two olive trees, being the 12 tribes, two lamps, and I think Eli's writes, the Old and New Testaments. The two prophets are the two main Christian nations who cling to the evidence of Christ as a military coalition. We work together. So I inserted these over here in the events. So I named it Preview, Events, and then the result of the events is how I put it out. So the seals were just the preview. So you get to the third seal, and I said, well, the black horse was the banking collapse. And that happens when you have this financial collapse and conquers the two witnesses in 11:7. That's why you see they're out conquering all these other empires, which were those three empires, or there's actually four there, but I covered that while you were gone. There's four empires there at 13:1, because the lion is these two witnesses from the previous chapter. So I said, how do you take over? It's just a financial collapse. You pull their credit card, now their military comes to a stop, and you take over them. And that's what it says in 13:7, if you look up to that. So the banking collapse, but you keep the oil fields producing because you need the oil fields to maintain your military equipment. You have to have the oil fields producing, and the liquor flowing so you can keep people fighting for you, and so they can't think straight about what they're doing. And then, okay, the force sale, I changed the order of these so that they would align with what the events are over here. So let's skip that part. So we go from third, you roll down, here's the fourth, the gray, or the livid horse is what it says in mine. But yeah, green, whatever. Gray, livid horse is death. The beast granted authority to murder a quarter of the earth by war, famine, disease, which is the result of atomic warfare. And I said the reason that this first trumpet over here is atomic warfare. It's the beginning of the first woe, defined as thermonuclear war. Hail and fire mixed with blood equals an atomic bomb. And there's no star falls on the first trumpet, which means that it's a bomb going off. In other words, the bomb's already in place. You don't see any incoming star, so the bomb's already there. The reason it's an atomic bomb comes from Zechariah chapter 5, and I have a chart on that. We could pull it up, but at any rate, I have 3 videos. And if you go over to my description, let's just go over to one and scroll down. I don't think it matters which one you're on. Here, let's just pull this one up because I think I'm pretty sure even the current ones have this on there. If you go up to, I'll kill that because I don't want to kill my bandwidth. If you click on show more, look at this description and scroll down. Yeah, there it is, right at the bottom. You see this? On Zechariah 5, nuclear warhead, missile rocket. So these were 3 15-minute videos that were posted years ago. But you need to watch those because he goes through and explains Zechariah 5. Go ahead. Exactly. Right. That's what this is right here. I'm sure this is probably the same thing, or they might have gotten that from that. But at any rate, I've got it right in my description. You just click on those and watch them. And then the other one just above is this guy that did this original, and this was back in 2014, did this original video on this woman clothed in the sun, Scotty with eternal rhythm flow, Scotty Clark. And I have the original video, but at any rate, and I've got a link to his current Eternal Rhythm Flow site. But that's in almost probably every video on my site has those links there because that's important that you understand that. You see? You have to understand that these trumpets are nuclear bombs and the stars are simply, I know there's a lot, it's just the way it's worded, and you could look at the wording as being angels falling. I've seen people describe, I don't know how many different things I've seen people describe, but at any rate, the result is hail and fire mixed with blood. Now, when do you have hail mixed with blood except the atomic bomb goes off, which is what the trumpet looks like. In other words, it starts small and it spreads out, right? That's your trumpet. So your fire then is from the bomb. So when do you have hail mixed with blood and fire at the exact same time? When do you have those 3 at the exact same time? The only time we know is when you have an atom bomb goes off. If you drop it on a city, then those people, the blood from those people come up into that trumpet, and then when the hail forms, they get into the hail and then they fall back. That's an exact description of atomic bomb. Now, the great burning fiery mountain sounds more like a meteorite which lands in the sea, and I debated that that's probably over in between, I forget which city that is, between England and Denmark, because it would, that's where a lot of your ships are up there, and it makes sense because England, as you recall, is broken in 3 pieces. And that's in the end of 16, I think. of Revelation. It says a third of the sea creatures die, a third of the sea becomes blood, you see, and a third of ships destroyed. So that would be like a tsunami, for example. Okay. And then the next trumpet was great star fell again, wormwood. So this could actually be a result of the previous fiery mountain. In other words, if a meteorite hit, that would be wormwood, which is the word for Chernobyl. So it could either be the wormwood can come off of meteorites or comets, but more likely a comet. And it's not unusual for a comet to necessarily strike the Earth or whatever. We would say meteorite. Comets don't strike, but they have, as far as we know, have struck bodies. So planets or whatever. Half of water is embittered, and that would be more likely if you had a comet hit instead of a meteorite. And I just heard that from a guy explaining the difference between meteorites and comets. Many die from drinking water because they don't have Geiger counters. So if there's radiation in it, for example, they don't have a Geiger counter. They drink the water, and you're going to die from it. Maybe not tomorrow, but you're going to die. So the fourth trumpet, third of the sun, moon, and stars darken. Okay, smoke and debris from the atomic bombs and from the meteorite or comet, in other words. Fifth trumpet, great star falls, sun and air darken. Here, same, fourth and fifth look basically the same. So I would say nuclear war, but when you get to chapter 9, after the beginning of chapter 9, it looks like it goes to a ground war. When you get to the sixth trumpet and the seventh trumpet, it looks like a ground war. It looks like your nuclear war is over. So you have a short nuclear exchange, and then you switch to ground war, and that's how I described it in my previous videos. Got a comment? Right. Well, yeah, we already did in a sense, because I said at the beginning, these two empires are basically undefeated, which the American military and the UK together are undefeated in the world at the moment. And I said they're going out making all this war around the world, taking over and taking control of other nations. So they're stealing minerals, oil, whatever. There's a lot about minerals in water, for example, like maybe down in Uruguay and Paraguay, taking control of large fields of water is very important, clean water. Not only do you need it for yourself in case you need clean water, especially in America, you're polluting your groundwater with these drills where they're fracking, because they're pumping chemicals into your ground and just polluting the whole United States is just being terribly polluted. Their groundwater is, and people don't realize that that's where it's coming from. But there's no telling how much pollution is being put into the groundwater right now in America, and has been for a while. And, your government's in control, so if it's killing people, it's not doing us good. It's just making people money. So I said, we're doing all this stuff, but at some point, God's going to pull the plug. And the point that I was making at the very beginning is that God's in control of these 10 kings. If you look over at the end of chapter 17, it says God's doing his will. He's empowering them to join with Satan, in other words, join with the dragon, to do all this war. And then at the end, he gives them power to destroy this beast, which is basically this one beast at the end is just taking control of conquered all these other beasts along the way. So however that looks like, it's a little debatable, because you can look at Isaiah. A lot of this is over in the Old Testament in various places. You look at it over there, and you're like, it's really hard to pull it all together and say, well, it's going to look just like this. You know what I'm saying? But you're going to recognize it when you see it. The whole thing is, if you recognize the overall here that we're looking at now, then whatever does actually happen, you're going to say, oh, All right, now that makes sense, and you're going to know where that goes back to, and you're going to know it, and no one else is because they didn't study. Go ahead. So at any rate, that's what I've been putting my 1,000 hours a year into for the last 8 years, 9 years now, is laying out this. Trying to teach this is the problem. I'm not trying to tell people I'm a guru. I made the chart for you. I didn't make it. I made it for me so I could remember stuff, but I made it for you to study so that people like yourself would come along and say, well, wait a minute, this logic is not good, and then come on my channel and say, oh, well, what about this or what about that? Because I can think a lot better when people are asking questions, and I have to remember what I wrote down and look at my own material because I wrote it down because my memory's not necessarily that good. You can't keep it all in mind. I mean, it's just impossible. So that's why I wrote it all down. And I've thrown some of this chart we're looking at is actually the second one I wrote. The first one I had most of the stuff here, but I just had to make so many corrections on it. I eventually had to throw it away. Go ahead. Yeah, well, like I said, I just wrote the seals up as, look, this is if you look at each one of these, they really just look like what's going on in the events which started at 8/7, say the first trumpet. So if you look at all these over here, the seals really just look like they're explaining, giving you an overview of what's to come, in other words. And then like this great earthquake in the sixth seal, but you've got the great earthquake over here in 9, for example. That's when the earth opens up and Satan comes out, Apollyon or Abaddon, which we talked about. That's what it looks like over there. So I said that looks like a preview of what's going to happen. The trumpets look like what actually happens, the war part, and then it describes what happened once you get to basically chapter 11. And then it starts telling you what happened. Then chapter 12, it gives you this vision of the stars, and that's actually written into the stars, which I think is probably correct. And then at 13, it goes back to, Satan. There's Satan in control. So there's Satan's control starting right out in chapter 13. He's got 4 beasts, which are the 4 beasts from Daniel. So technically, this first beast in chapter 13 is actually the 5th beast. And then when you get over to 13:11, that would be the 6th beast. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the number of your beast in Revelation, they don't make sense. You can't comprehend the numbering of the beast in Revelation if you just read Revelation. But if you realize that's 4 right there in 13, and it says 4 over in Daniel chapter 7, so if that's 4 there, then this A beast is this next beast which has control of those 4, which would make it the 5th. And then when you get over here to 13:11, then you go to the 6th. And if you think, okay, so the 2nd in 13 is actually the 6th, then you realize that because the next one it talks about is the 7th. And that's up in 17 or whatever, it goes to the 7th. All right, so where did the 5th and 6th beast go? You see, unless that's them back there at chapter 13. So if you look at it that way, it fits perfectly. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Well, I agree. I absolutely agree with that. But the point of that is it tells you back in 13:2 that he's in control. So we already know he's in control over here in chapter 11 because he's actually in control. He's the one that gets the 2 witnesses to go out and make all these wars. It's not the Christian Israel people who are out here. They don't have any desire for war. The Christian Israel people, they're living in America. They don't have any desire for all these wars. That's their government creating all that stuff. They don't, the Christian people sitting in church have zero desire for that, but they don't have control because they're electing the red and blue parties, which are both communists, and they can't break away from electing communists. They don't realize they're electing communists. These guys go up here and smile, and they're on TV, and they think, well, we'll try this guy, or we'll try that guy. They have no idea that the guys they're electing, that both parties are communists. They're just the red party and the blue party. They're both communists. Communist A, communist B. You can't make people comprehend that. They're too brainwashed. They're just too brainwashed, Lily. I've tried, and you just cannot get it. People do not believe they're being lied to on TV. And that's why brainwashing is the #1 way to take control of nations. It's through brainwashing. You simply take over the media first. Well, yeah. Well, the way you take over a nation is you do it through the media. That's how communists have always done. And but they told you that, Lily. They put that on the Communist Party USA said that. I forget what year that was. I'm thinking it was around maybe 1906, where the Communist Party actually stated that openly, that they were going to take over America. And we got the planks of the Communist Manifesto. All of that's in place in America, and the white Christian Israel people accepted it, even though a lot of them didn't want it. They didn't come together and say, we're not going to have it. You know what I'm saying? They didn't come together with their churches and say that we're going to have it. They did pretty good until they became corporations, and then they became under the control of the state, and then they actually ceased being churches. Because when the state controls a church, it's not a church. God controls churches, not the state. Right? Yeah. And it is. It is. In America, yeah. In America, the Satan is in control of the church because he's in control of your government, because you elected him to be in control. You didn't elect godly people. If you were gone to elected godly people, you'd have got them from the church. Where else would you get the godly men except from the church? So you would have picked men from the church, elected them locally, elected them at the state level, elected them at the federal level. That's what you would have done if you were a real church. But again, Lily, that's what they said. That's what they said. That's what the Communist Party said. They said they were going to take over the churches first. They were going to buy up the media, and they were just going to take over all. They said that openly. They stated it. We already were told that's what they were going to do. But Christian people just scoffed at the idea. Now their country's destroyed. And that's what Revelation says. Well, happy Mother's Day, and I agree with you. Let's cut off here, and I'll wrap it up. All right. All right. Thank you, and come back. Bye. All right. Well, that's good. So that was actually a good conversation. We covered a lot of material, but I've got it all here on my charts. So just go up here to my channel, and the prerequisite really is, going here on my channel. Here's my angloisrael.com. Scroll down. All the charts are right there. Some are PDFs, some of the newer ones. I've got everything I teach. Basically, I put charts together, and I teach from the charts. That's how I've been teaching for 8 years. So you don't have to go look and find what I'm referring to, in other words, because I've already got the cross-references, the quotes, everything I'm teaching from, and especially this topical cross-reference chart, which is going to be, I still haven't put the new one up here, but this is going to be one of the best things I've done, because I'm going to go through the whole Bible, book by book, and take these terms and show you that all of these terms all connect together. In fact, this is a good one right here. Foreknew, because this is about prophecy. Foreknow, foreknowledge, foreordained, foresaw, foretold, and foreseeing. That's all about in relation to prophecy. And you'll see if when you look at your cross references that all this cross references back and forth to each other. So you can spend your whole life looking at cross references. But basically that's what I did. I went through the New Testament, looked at all the cross references, which is you know, you can't put an exact number on it, but 2,000 to 3,000 cross references in the New Testament. So you'll find that all of those terms cross reference back and forth. All the most important words, the headstone, the hornet or terror, you see, is the Christ, Christ the headstone, Christ the stone, the foundation stone, fountain of life. All this is about Christ. Inheritance, inheritors, all are about the 12 tribes and Christ. So everything you see, even the teaching of the kingdom of God, is about Christ and the 12 tribes, not about the whole world. So you can see that by the fact that all the uses of the term cross-reference back and forth to each other, and they cross-reference back to the 12 verses about the 12 tribes in context. But your pastors can't put this stuff in context. The best they go is looking upwards, and some of them are pretty good at that, but they don't have the fact that all this is in context. It's all connected through Moses, the prophets, and Psalms in Luke 24:44, which is what Christ said. That's what he was teaching from. Everything he taught, he said, was from Moses, the prophets, and Psalm. And the context of that is about God's covenant people, Christian Israel people, not the Jewish Israel people, which we would call them today, but the ones that accepted Christ at Mount Sinai and continued to. Now, they suffer because they went 40 years in the desert, even though they didn't do anything wrong. But Christ sent them there to judge the Israelites who would not follow his law and didn't want any part of that. They just wanted to be kings, you see. Well, they and then that's who Stephen was talking about in Acts chapter 7. So it's all the dots are connected here, and this would be a pretty long chart. At the moment, it's only 26 pages, but it'll probably be 126 pages when I get done with it. And it shows you all your how everything connects all the way through the Bible and how it all comes back. That it's in the context of the Abrahamic covenant. So you got a lot to add to it down here. But it's all in the context of the Abrahamic covenant being fulfilled throughout Scripture, and that's what the Bible is about. So I think we'll wrap up here for our Mother's Day talk, and I appreciate everybody that came in, and we'll see you. You can watch our Tuesday and Thursdays on our channel here, which I have linked right here, Rev9 video. So thanks for watching. Oh, and happy Mother's Day 2020.